Martell and Harper's situation was something nobody saw coming. On the surface, both men seemed to share a level of respect, almost like they were on the same team. They were successful, charismatic, and confident in their own ways. They appeared together at events, praised each other in public, and worked side by side on certain projects. To anyone watching from the outside, it looked like a solid professional connection. But behind that polished picture, something was shifting. The bond wasn't as strong as it seemed, and slowly, tension started to build. This wasn't a sudden, explosive fight. Instead, it was the kind of quiet, slow burn that grows until it's impossible to hide. The truth was, their personalities were different in ways that clashed. Martell's presence was loud, bold, and unapologetic. When he walked into a room, people knew it. His energy filled the space, and he didn't try to tone it down for anyone. Harper, on the other hand, was the opposite. He was calm, calculated, and deliberate in how he spoke and acted. His style was smooth, like someone who always knew exactly what he wanted to say before saying it. While both approaches could be powerful, they didn't always blend well. And in their case, these differences didn't lead to balance. They led to quiet competition. The root of the tension wasn't money, status, or fame. It was influence. Both men had strong reputations and wanted to be seen as leaders. In their shared circles, they had the attention and respect of the same people, which created an invisible tug-of-war. That tug-of-war became more obvious when Melody was in the picture. She was well respected in her own right, smart, composed, and trusted by both men. She had professional relationships with them and understood how they operated. But what should have been a comfortable dynamic turned into a pressure point. When two strong personalities are both close to the same person, and each wants to maintain control of their image and relationships, it can create a silent but dangerous kind of tension. It began with small, harmless-seeming questions. Martell would casually ask Melody, "You and Hill talk often?" Or, "What does Hill think about our project?" At first, it didn't feel serious, more like normal curiosity. But over time, those questions became sharper, more frequent, and harder to ignore. Hill wasn't completely innocent in this either. He would make comments like, "Martell's energy doesn't really fit this type of meeting." Or, "Do you think Martell is ready for something on this scale?" These weren't outright insults, but they carried a certain tone that Melody could feel. She noticed the subtle digs, the pointed remarks, and the growing distance between the two men. Melody tried to stay out of it. She told herself they were grown men and could handle their own disagreements. But when you are the link between two people who are quietly competing, it's impossible to stay completely separate. The tension finds you, whether you invite it or not. And that's exactly what happened the night of the event that changed everything. The gathering was supposed to be simple, an intimate networking night at a stylish lounge, filled with business owners, creatives, and influencers. The lighting was low, the music was soft, and the mood was relaxed. Martell arrived looking sharp, greeting people, and smiling for photos. Hill showed up the same way, calm, polished, and friendly. From the outside, it looked like everything was fine. But the energy between them was off, almost uncomfortably so. People who knew them could feel it. According to several people who were there, it started with just a look. Martell overheard something Hill said in a group conversation about leadership. The words weren't extreme, but they struck a nerve. Martell locked eyes with Hill, and there was an unspoken challenge in that moment. Instead of letting it pass, Martell walked over. The conversation that followed wasn't loud, but it was intense. Voices were low but sharp, the kind of tone that makes people nearby go silent. Melody, sensing where this could lead, stepped in and lightly touched Martell's arm, trying to calm things down without drawing attention. But even with her efforts, the air in the room shifted. People stopped chatting and became hyper-aware of the tension. No one pulled out a phone, maybe out of respect, maybe out of fear, but everyone felt something bigger was happening. After that night, the quiet friction between Martell and Hill was no longer hidden. It became an open divide. Friends started choosing sides. Some collaborations that had been in the works were canceled. Invitations that used to go to both of them stopped being sent to one or the other. And in the middle of all of it was Melody, who never asked to be part of their issues but now couldn't escape them. The rumors started almost immediately. Within days, group chats were full of speculation. Martell's circle claimed that Hill had been undermining him for weeks, questioning his credibility behind his back. Hill's side said Martell was being emotional, letting personal drama bleed into professional spaces. And somehow, Melody's name started coming up in the gossip. People whispered that maybe she was closer to one of them than she admitted. Others suggested she was playing both sides. None of it was true, but once a narrative takes hold, it's hard to stop it. In just a few days, Melody went from respected partner to suspected problem. Martell reacted by posting vague but pointed messages on social media. He didn't name anyone, but his words were heavy with meaning. Loyalty should never be questioned, but sometimes silence says it all. Fake smiles don't hide real intentions. Hill took a different approach. No public shade, just a podcast appearance where he spoke about authenticity and how ego can destroy respect. His delivery was calm, but the message was clear. Both men were speaking to each other without saying names, and everyone knew it. For Melody, the pressure was becoming unbearable. Her phone wouldn't stop buzzing with calls and messages from friends, colleagues, and people just fishing for details. She tried to block it out until one night, she saw a screenshot that made her heart sink. It was from a group chat she wasn't part of, and in it, Martell had written, "Melody's playing both of us, and I'm done protecting her." It wasn't fear she felt, it was disappointment. She had been protecting both men from each other for months, never using the information she had to hurt either of them. But clearly Martell no longer saw her that way. Then came the moment that shifted everything. Melody stumbled across something she was never meant to see, a series of messages on a shared device. At first, it looked like harmless conversation between Hill and another mutual friend. But as she read further, the truth revealed itself. Hill had made a business move months earlier that directly undercut a deal Martell had been working on with a major investor. Hill secured the deal in secret, using inside information that only a handful of people had access to. He never told Martell, even when Martell spoke to him about how blindsided he felt. Hill had sat there and acted surprised while knowing exactly what happened. Melody was torn. She knew telling Martell would ignite a situation that could get ugly fast. But staying quiet meant protecting someone who had been manipulative and dishonest. After days of wrestling with the decision, she finally sent Martell a message. "We need to talk in person." When they met, she didn't waste time. She showed him the proof, the dates, the screenshots, the names. Martell read everything without speaking at first. His face stayed still, but his jaw tightened and his hands curled slightly. He didn't ask questions. He just nodded, stood up, and left. Within a day, Martell made a public post. He didn't name Hill, but laid out a detailed timeline of the failed deal, and implied that someone close to him had sabotaged it. The post was emotional but calculated, clearly aimed at Hill. 2 days later, Hill responded with a statement calling the claims wildly misinformed and dismissing them as drama rooted in emotion. He underestimated, though, how fast truth can spread once people start looking for it. Fans began digging, connecting dots, and sharing receipts. Slowly, Hill's polished image started to lose its shine. Melody stayed silent through all of it. The public didn't know she was the source of the proof, and she wanted to keep it that way. But privately, the damage was done. Relationships shifted, projects stalled, and she found herself questioning why she had gotten so close to either man in the first place. Weeks later, Martell reached out, not with anger, but with exhaustion. He told her he wasn't mad at her, just tired. Tired of the games, the competition, the constant need to be on guard. Melody listened but didn't say much. She had nothing left to give, not to him, not to Hill, not to the version of herself that had tried so hard to keep the peace. Hill never spoke to her again. No apology, no thanks, nothing. Eventually, the noise died down. People moved on, the headlines changed, and life returned to normal, at least on the surface. But the cracks stayed. Martell and Hill would likely never speak again, and Melody chose to start fresh in a quieter way, far from the chaos. In the end, none of them walked away completely clean. But sometimes, the truth doesn't fix everything. It just clears the smoke so you can see what's left. And for Melody, that was enough.